Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Driven Wild. Today we are talking about, is Uber Eats hiding info? So as we all know, gig companies have a tendency to play games on the app in an effort to make them more money and to have us accept orders we otherwise wouldn't accept. And one of those ways is selectively hiding certain information. As of recently, I was asked if Uber is hiding restaurant names. And while I have certain evidence to suggest yes, I also have evidence to suggest no. So with that said, I want to go over what information is being hidden from drivers on the order accept screen and other places on the app, what evidence supports the statement that they are, and evidence that suggests that they aren't, and what I personally believe, and everything in between. But before we do that, I do want to be absolutely clear. I cannot confirm anything on either side. I cannot say for certain what the intentions are or lack thereof on behalf of Uber. I'm just going to go over what I've heard, what I've experienced, and my personal opinions on the subject. So with that said, let's get started. Restaurant names. So I don't know if you guys have noticed, as Uber Eats drivers, there have been times where we gotten orders and the pickup location is not there. And there's also times where we don't see the drop-off location as well, but I think we're more concerned about where we're picking up and not just where we're dropping off. I know that if we're going into a rough area, that's a completely different story, but I know as a driver, I tend to steer away from those areas anyway. But restaurant names, I feel like this is something that people are noticing aren't being showed, and that's not just on stacked orders, that's on Trip Radar, and that's on order accept screens. Because of that, places that would ordinarily be on our no-go list would also be among the orders we would pick up because we ended up accepting those orders. Or instead of me actually going to the restaurant, I would unassign that order, hitting my cancellation rate on the platform, which is frustrating because it feels like we have to play these manipulative games just to make sure that we don't end up accidentally accepting orders anyway. Now we have to make sure that we're not accepting orders that don't have pickup locations in mind. And not to mention, there are some locations that we would actually want to go to that get hidden too. So that's also something we got to think about. But this is where your expertise in your area is going to have to come in, because you got to know, okay, are there any restaurants in this particular location that I would not want to pick up from? In a lot of cases, I'm sure it's going to be no, but in some cases, there's that one McDonald's, or there's that one Benihana for me, or a Chick-fil-A that's just an absolute nightmare to work with, or a bunch of different places. So you don't work with them. But if you got a clean location for pickup and there is no restaurant name, you might want to go there if the price is right. Full order info at times. Now, I don't know if you've experienced this at all, but there are times where it just says delivery, it's a stacked order, and 2 minutes away. They don't even show any order information at all. Usually I see this when the app is glitching out like crazy, but sometimes I'll just see it mixed in. And I don't know if there's some sort of disconnect from the main server to driver's phone, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if those orders were just so bad nobody wants to pick them up. So if you see any order that doesn't explain anything, don't work with them. Full tip amounts. Okay, I think we all know that Uber Eats hides tips. They will only display up to $8 worth of the tip, and everything after that is base pay and an increase in base pay, and they're pretty good about making sure it goes up when the time is right. Now, again, there's a lot to be said about the amount you're being paid, and I totally get that. And if you're not really sure what I'm talking about on the hidden tip system, I'll leave a video in the description talking all about that as well. Feel free to check that out. But the point is that Uber Eats and Doordash are known for hiding tips. Uber Eats is better about it for shorter deliveries, but they're not so great on longer ones. Just keep in mind that that's something they do. Mileage. All right, this is something that I've been noticing in my area recently, and I'm surprised that besides Zach Drives Fast, no one else is really talking about it. And that's the concept of mileage on Uber Eats, and how they've been playing a lot of games recently in terms of how they display the mileage to you. Sometimes they'll get it right, and sometimes they'll tell you the shortest way you can actually get there, but then they'll take you via the app in a way that does not make sense for you mileage-wise. Or they just will fudge the numbers entirely. Like, I remember actually seeing one of my orders that was $14 for 7 miles, and then I felt like it was longer after I did the order, so I checked, and it was actually 11 miles worth of driving. A lot of people have been noticing this via Trip Radar, but it's not exclusive to Trip Radar, so this is where you really need to be an expert on how your area works. So keep that in mind. Types of delivery. Now, this specifically is exclusive to Trip Radar, and if you're not a fan of Trip Radar, you can probably just skip through this one, but there have been times where I will get a notification that I've received an order, and they will not only hide the order pickup location, they will hide the type of delivery it is. They will say it's $29 for 22 miles, but they won't tell me how many pickups there are because they only show me the bottom bar of whatever type of delivery it is, but I know I could click on the white box and bam, I can be put into that order. That's pretty messed up. They're being so poorly transparent that they're using the concept of their glitchy system as a mask to hide information. Contract violations. Okay, so this is something that's been coming up for a lot of drivers recently. I've actually gotten 2 of them on UberEats. If you don't know what I'm talking about in terms of contract violations, I'll leave that video in the description as well. Feel free to check it out. But I remember contacting support on what those contract violations are, and they told me that's something they said to everybody, and they don't have the ability to check what those violations are for. They're so manipulative, it's so dishonest that I don't even think that it should be something available on the platform anyway, but it's ridiculous that it's a thing. If you're not going to tell us what the contract violations are for, you should not be giving us contract violations. But that's just another gig company manipulation right there. I think that it goes without saying that there's a lot of consequences when there are a lack of information. We touched upon a bunch of them, but there are also some that I feel like I need to go over again. Unsafe working conditions. If you don't know where you're going when you pick up an order, you are risking the concept that you are going to end up in a really rough area. And obviously UberEats has already been experiencing that. They've been adding safety features, sure, but there's already been a driver in Tampa that's been brutally assaulted and brutally violated. And it's come to a point where it's been proven these companies don't care. They will literally do anything and everything to make sure our unsafe conditions are just even worse, because that's the integrity and character of the company. Unpredictable pay. If they're gonna mess with the mileage and they're going to mess with the transparency of restaurant names there are, and we're going to have extended wait times for that reason. We don't really know how much we're going to end up keeping at the end of the day because we were stuck in restaurants for longer than we would normally be. We are driving longer than the mileage that they are supposed to be giving us the information for. Sure, we didn't have the full tip amounts anyway, but that's another factor in this. If we don't know how much we're going to get paid, then we don't know if we could trust these companies and work with them. No-go list will be useless. I touched on this already, but I think it's important that we go over it one more time. If they don't tell us the restaurant name, you risk taking an order from a restaurant that's on your no-go list, and you can either follow through with the order or unassign it. And if you unassign it, your cancel rate will go up, and because your cancel rate goes up, you're risking your account safety long term. That's assuming it gets out of hand and you're not controlling that, but that's for another video. Now, here is my opinion on the subject. The system is clunky. The system is glitchy. It needs a whole lot of work as a whole. The CEO of Uber actually worked on the platform under Project Boomerang, and he was testing the platform himself. And he said himself, the system's clunky and the user experience is frustrating. Also, the anxiety from the rating system is out of hand. Are they going to actually change it, or are they going to weaponize the concept to do things that they shouldn't be doing anyway? I feel like the integrity and character speaks for itself, but none of these things can actually be confirmed if they're gonna actually fix the whole system, which I sincerely doubt, or are they going to utilize the clunkiness of the system to continue to manipulate drivers? It can be both ways, but it is expensive to actually remake the entire system, so I wouldn't be surprised if we're stuck with it. Now, there is an option to definitely get full transparency, but it does violate the terms of service, and that is Para. I am not affiliated with them personally. I know that they violate terms of service in the way they work. I don't necessarily condone their actions, but I do understand their cause to fight for the transparency from all the platforms, not just Uber, not just Doordash, not just Grubhub, all platforms. So is there something good to be said about them as a platform? Yes. Will I be using them personally? Not really. But it is an option for you if you choose to use it. I'm not saying you should. I'm saying it's an option. Did I miss anything? Is there something else that Uber is hiding from us in terms of the information they're supposed to be providing us that we did not cover in this video? Let me know in the comments. Let's make sure that everything that needs to be said about the information hidden from us as drivers is out there and that we can protect ourselves as much as possible. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. As always, make sure to hit the like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!